All right. So, really quick introductions for Abida and I. My name is Barbara Nicholas. I'm head of operations here at Poly. My background that's most relevant to our content today is that I've had the opportunity to scale up L&D programs in various remote teams, from scratch to kind of 100. I've also had the opportunity to develop programs across people operations, DEI, and project and program management. At Poly, I get to kind of help design programs internally, but one of the most awesome things I get to do is help design programs that leverage Poly for our customers to drive the most value to make their work lives easier and more productive. With that, I'll hand it to Abida.
Thanks, Barbara. So I'm Abida. I'm head of customer success at Poly. I'm extremely passionate about working with our customers in solving their engagement challenges. Customer interactions energize me. That's what makes me want to open my laptop every day. And besides that, I claim myself to be a remote work convert. So for me, no going back to the office anymore. The freedom to work from anywhere, everywhere, the flexibility that remote work offers is just something that I feel that I cannot live without anymore. I get to live my passion for travel, explore cultures, food. So yeah, loving it. With that, Barbara, I'll hand it back over to you for a formal kickoff about on today's agenda.
Perfect. Well, like any good training session that you're going to host, we want to start with sharing what we're going to cover today with you all. So we're going to run through essentially the life cycle of a training session with Poly embedded throughout, and specifically Poly for Slack. When you're supporting these processes kind of from start to finish, we're going to share tips about the best practices along the way and demo lots of cool features to kind of dig into the details. So if we can go to the next slide. So really quick, not going to quiz you on this later, but one of the things I wanted to share in terms of a best practice of developing programs is really starting with your why. Whether, it's why am I developing a training program for a specific skill within our organization that we want people to up level on, or, maybe we've decided we have initiative around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, what is your why? And our why today is really that high quality programs matter and they have an impact in your business, both from the business bottom line with productivity and efficiency, but also from the employee, happiness perspective and engagement perspective. Investing in our employees, we see that 94% of employees that have responded to recent surveys say that they would stay with a company longer that invests in their development. So we know in our L&D program communities that this is important work that has a downstream impact within the business. At Poly, we've recognized the growing demand for more dynamic and accessible tools to really enhance the experience that hybrid and remote teams are having. And so we're going to share our playbook today on how we think you can leverage that and tailor it to support, the L&D hosts and moderators, but also really highlight how we impact the team members that are engaging in your programs. So our playbook consists, and Abida's going to get into the tacticals on it, of from start to finish. And one of the most important aspects of any program is setting clear goals. So identifying what you want to achieve with your training sessions. Are you potentially aiming to improve knowledge retention, increase engagement, gather feedback? What are the internal goals for whatever program you're running for your organization? And where Poly starts to step in here is that by defining these objectives up front, you can really tailor your content and your strategies with all of your Poly moments in mind in terms of your pre-event surveys, your in-meeting engagement moments, your knowledge checks, and all, the full life cycle. So when you see that, these pre-event activities are pretty heavily weighted in where we spend time on running a successful program, because we see a lot of value that brings in the live event moments and downstream into your results and continuous improvement moments. So as Abida will demonstrate here very shortly, when we're setting these goals, we can really craft thoughtful pre-event surveys, engagement moments, pulse checks, post-event check-ins that are helping you measure yourself and your program while you're also providing the needed training within your organization. This will all be a leave behind that you'll get a copy of after this session. So don't worry too much about any screenshots or that. So I will hand it over to Abida for her to get started on the demos.
starting off with the pre-event engagement, as facilitators, the worst thing that could happen is that, your session isn't aligned with the audience expectations. We've all been in trainings where, we found the content to be too generic or good to know, but action might be actionable for a later time. So, how can you as facilitators avoid this? A great way to go about it is sending out a pre-event poly to gather the participant expectation 2-3 weeks in advance, because not only does it validate your content structure, which of course is helpful in when you're setting up your slide deck, but it also gets you a buy-in from the audience. That's a commitment, that's their commitment towards their learning as well, that they're taking out the time to respond around what are the expectations from this session. So it really helps you, not just in the content creation bit, but making sure that you're engaging your audience along the way as well. So how do we go about it? Let's just dive directly into Slack and see how to set things up. Oops. So in here, of course, I'm in the community channel. So if you have a channel which is set up with your training participants, feel free to set up these polys in the same channel, or you can, if you're interacting with them on a separate medium, let's say email or someplace else, that's also a great way to get their responses coming in. So I can start off the poly creation from within the channel. Let's say, this is where my training community exists. So I can start and create a poly. I can build it from here from scratch. Or I can select from a pre-selected template as well. So very straightforward. I can set it up from here, or I can go into my Poly app and create it from here. Or we do have a third option as well, which is around the Poly web app. So web app, I love personally creating polys from here because I just feel that the visual space that it offers me is just so much more than just Slack. So I can go in here, I can create polys from Slack. This is like a companion to your Slack app. Whatever you create in there, it's going to reflect over here, and you can create from here as well, which is going to get posted in Slack. But you'll see in a while that the visual representation of results and the tons of things that you can do in the web app is quite powerful. So I can start my poly from scratch. What I did actually was that I've created this template in advance. So let me walk you through that template of this pre-L&D webinar survey. And yeah, these are some of the questions that I had come up with. You have a variety of question types to choose from. As part of one poly or one survey, you can add mix and match between different question types. You can allow for multiple votes, enable comments, mark questions as required or optional. Let's say if it's a lengthy one, maybe 5 or 6 questions, maybe you might not want to make all the questions required. But some of the ones which you feel are really important information for you, you can do that as well. And to make you very comfortable in the creation process, we offer an interactive preview over here. So let's say, it's a new audience, you're unsure on how the poly is going to look like. This interactive preview is a great way to kind of get more comfortable around how the poly will look and feel once it goes out in Slack. And one interesting thing, you can add your own emojis as well. So from here, it's very simple as, just typing in the command for that emoji, and it's going to appear over here. And of course, the interactive preview gives you a view of how the emoji actually looks like. Then anonymity setting, totally in your control. I would say you can go for anonymous unless and until the name of the respondent is very important for you because you want to circle back with them on something. So yes, that makes sense. Otherwise, non-anonymous would also be a great way to gather responses. Results visibility, that's also up to you whether you want the results to be visible in real time or not to be shared with the audience. One thing to note over here is that this setting, result setting, is for the respondents. As the author, you have access to all the results at all times. Further, if you can hide the comments, hide names of participants, again, lots of customizations that you can do. You can send it out right now, or you can also schedule it to go out at a later date and time. So, let's say this you wanted to go out on a Monday morning, 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. You don't need to come in and create it from scratch. It's already scheduled to go out. Then there's a recurring feature. I'll talk about it in a while. You can add reminders to encourage the response rate as well. Totally customizable. I think if the poly is open for like 7 days, we do suggest one reminder to go out after 3 days. Yeah, that's a good enough reminder frequency. Then the community, you can send it out in a community, or you can send it out as a direct message to your training cohort members as a DM. It's up to you. What we've seen from other customers is that it depends on the culture of your company. If DM is like a space where people feel that it's a very personal space, then DM might not be a way to go about it. But channels might help you with getting more responses because it's more visible. Whatever people are adding is getting visible to everyone. So it depends on your company culture. Then a title and a message really helps. So message is one of the tips that I would share here, is that add in a message if there's a context to the webinar or the workshop that is happening. Feel free, make sure to add that context, because we've seen that it helps you with the response rate. And you can add in a sender alias to make it look more official, and instead of it going out from your name as well. I'm going to hit send, and instantly the poly is going to get sent. For all of you who've joined the Slack channel, the poly must be in your Slack. I can create a web link for this poly as well, which means that, let's say I want to get this feedback from, I want to circulate this link over email as well, because maybe some of the training members might be more responsive on emails. So you have this link, you can embed this link in emails, in chats, in your posts, wherever. It works like a web link, and whoever has access to this link will be able to respond to it. So as you can see, what am I hoping to take away? Click on just learn new things. Oh, I would claim myself to be a power user, humbly power user. And now I'm going to go into Slack, and in here, you can see that the poly got posted. You'll be able to instantly respond to it. You can see that it shows completion as well, because one person who's responded. So from wherever the results are coming, whether that's within Slack, or whether that's from the web, everything is updating in real time. And I'm going to head back in my poly web app to show you how the responses are going to look like. I took the liberty of sending this out in advance as well, because I want to show you a complete results visibility. So this was the poly. You can see I have tons of responses to this one. And I can then move on to the next question. So this shows me the details as well. You can see it's a beautiful, very visually easy to kind of easy to consume visual way to look at the results. What are some things? What is the current proficiency level? So that's going to help me in determining that, hey, what are, like, do I need to talk about the advanced features more? Or, let's say if there were more people in this bucket, in these two buckets versus less in here, then I know that I need to start off from the basic stuff. Versus if less people were here or more here, then I know that, hey, the basics are already covered. Let's jump into the strategic stuff, or the more advanced features directly. So really, you can see that this is giving you cues around how are you going to make your content relevant. You're meeting your audience where they stand right now. A couple of things that you can do as part of this is, one is that you can share your poly. One thing that, which reminds me, one thing that is really helpful, and we've seen it from our customers again and again on how amazing this feature is this share feature. So I've created this template as part of poly creation. You see this button over here which says save it as a template. The moment I do it, it's going to be in my templates library. This personalized library is in addition to the global templates library that everyone has access to. It has all the kind of the usual polys that that teams want to send out. So going in here, this was a pre-webinar survey that I created, and I decided to share it with Barbara and another colleague, Hiba, because I felt that, hey, I just want you to take a look at the questions before I send it out to the training participants. So, and I gave them manage access, and it's very simple. I can just add their names from here, give them manage access, share template, and that's it. The beauty of this is that we were co-creating this survey, not on a Google Doc, not on the email, not anywhere else, not even on Slack. you'll co-creating it within the Poly platform. The changes that they made, updated at my end, it's all happening in real time, all happening instantaneously. So it's not just about you sending out a survey, it's about you collaborating with your team members on something which is very important for you as a team. So I gave them this access, and of course, the changes that they made appear reflected at my end. This Poly was created. There were some changes that Hiba made, then a few others that Barbara made. So finally going out is a reflection of the thoughts of the entire team around it. So this was pre-collaboration, pre-Poly sending. And then now when my Poly is live, and let's say, there can be scenarios, again, similarly, I want to share the results with my team. So I can go in here and I can share the results from here, and I can, again, give access to, I've already given access to Barbara and Hiba. I can give access to Anas as well. But for Anas, maybe, I want to give him view access. So, maybe Anas is my line manager. So I want to make sure that he has access to the results at all times, whereas Hiba and Barbara, they're like my co-authors in here. So I would want that, let's say, any changes need to be made to the Poly. I sent it out, but a typo is there, or, the Poly needs to be closed at an earlier date and time. So basically, anything that I can do as the author of the Poly, my the Barbara and Hiba can do it as well. And of course, I can revoke the access at any point in time. A very common use case for this is that I created the Poly and then I'm away for the next 2 weeks. So because they have access to this Poly, so they'll be able to access it in the web app as well, and they can continue working on the training content even while I'm away. And the slide deck is ready by the time I come back. So it's not, there's no hold up for the collaboration to continue. So there is that. And then what we also suggest is that as part of your pre-event or pre-training survey, do include a question which you can gauge or test the audience later as well. So before, while you're creating the content, you can check with the proficiency, and later, once you're done with the workshop, and then it also might be a good time to check their proficiency level to see if there's any change in it, which really helps you in quantifying the training impact as well. Now, moving on to the next step, you have all the information you need to make your workshop a success, and you have a much better understanding of, what is it that your audience would like to see more of. You have a much better idea on what are the desired goals that your audience has in mind, which is extremely insightful for you. You've shared the results with your co-facilitators as well, so all of you are aligned on the structures, and in the days to come, you can all work together on creating the slide deck to make sure that all the expectations of the audience are captured in it. Now, the day of the event is here. We recommend keeping things light and breezy, and add some fun element to it to keep the engagement going, starting off with Poly icebreakers and hot takes, very similar to what we started off this session with. Again, very easy to set up in the initial few minutes. It's a great way to kill the awkward silence, either through an icebreaker or in hot take. Typically, what we do recommend is that if you have like a minute or so, then hot take is a good way to kick off. Versus if you have, let's say, a couple of minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, then icebreaker is a good way to have a more of a meaningful conversation. And let's again jump right into Slack, and I can quickly walk you through how to set these things up. So I'm going to go in here, and again, now this time, let's start the creation from here. I'll select the just have some fun category, hot takes. Oh, and if I forgot to share, we've recently added AI to our feature set as well. So, while you do have hot takes, which are like just thumbs up and thumbs down opinion related polls, but let's say, you don't want to shuffle through our hot takes library and you want to create your own ones. So you can go in here. Again, you don't need to leave the Poly platform. We want to make sure that the number of clicks that it takes to send it out a survey and get the engagement going with your audience, those clicks are kept to a minimum. So let's say I am going to submit my prompt. learning program, and the AI is going to generate hot takes for me. Okay, learning programs. Oh, I'm definitely not sending out the first one. um, Learning programs are efficient, and I can kind of use the hot take, or I can ask it to shuffle the hot take or regenerate more ones for me. And whichever when I decide, I can then send it out as well. So you can have create your own customized hot takes as well based on your requirement. And with that, I'm going to share my Zoom screen. And sharing Zoom within Zoom is, I don't know, I just find it a bit wonky every time. So I'm going to share my desktop and, oh no. Rather, let me start off with the Poly app, and then I can share the Poly app. That's going to be more helpful. Barbara, if you could add the Poly app to the meeting, that will be great, so that I can then start off with that. And while Barbara does that, let me just dive back into how things are looking up in Slack. So I can generate the hot takes from here as well as part of the templates library. I do have a hot take section. And from here, they can be generated. I can shuffle them. So like I said, this works as a companion web app. The creation can happen from within Slack, or the creation can happen from in here as well. And the responses are going to be visible in both places.
Hey, Abida, really because we're in a webinar version of Zoom, we can't embed the Poly app into the Zoom world, but we can absolutely follow up with some interesting videos to our attendees around the appearance of the Zoom app in the wild.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thanks for the call out. So yeah, coming back to the other, the meeting engagement bit, of course, you've started off with your icebreakers and hot takes, and now you're ready to get into some of the more serious stuff. So we suggest starting off with the pre-event survey results, which was sent out 2-3 weeks in advance. And it's always a great best practice to start off with the link between the feedback, what you've received, and what you will be covering today. Because when the audience sees that link and the hyper customized content, of course, their likelihood of being engaged is going to be at a much different level. And as a session, it would give them that confidence that yes, the session is relevant and in line with what they're hoping to learn. And then, as you dive into the program with more of some of the serious stuff, it's always a good idea to build in knowledge checks to make the conversation two-way. And if you feel that, the engagement is the way that you like, that's great. You can maybe skip it as well. But it's always good to have the knowledge checkpoints in your back pocket. And if you have a co-host, you can make them the owner and they can send it out. You can schedule it as well. You can create it in advance. So there is actually a few knowledge checks points that we've added as part of this webinar as well. So if you could go in, scan the QR code, or Barbara, if you could share the link for this in the chat as well, they'll be able to, the participants will be able to respond to this knowledge checkpoint. And to be honest, as a facilitator, it also feels that it gives you a moment to pause and catch up with the audience, assess or have a better idea around where their understanding is at this point in time. We do suggest that knowledge checks can be built in if you have like a module approach in your program. If there are 2 modules or 3 modules, maybe a knowledge check might be a good idea after every module. Like I said, because as a facilitator, you want to be sure that you're taking your participants along as you're moving into the next module. And if the results of the knowledge check indicate that, hey, some of the concepts might not be clear, so that might be a good time to go back and spend more time on those. So jumping into the knowledge check that had been set up, it had been set up from here, and I'm going to go in here, and we have 4 responses coming in. I'm going to open it up. Yes, just to share with you, all of the above is the correct answer to this one. You can engage your audience through icebreakers, hot takes, polls, Q&A. So yes, all of this are great ways to engage your audience, and mix and match between them is depending on your uh, session format is a great way. And yes, this is the correct answer as well. Can you send out polys to a private channel? Yes, you definitely can. We did cover it so far, but yes, you can. You just need to add the Poly app to your private channel, just the way, because the way that Slack works is that private channels are private. So you have to allow the app to come in, which can be done through the @poly command. And once the app is added, then you can use it exactly the way that you can use it in a public channel. So you've done your knowledge check. A quick recap. So you started off with a pre-event survey through which you gathered the expectations from your audience. Then your training session has started. You started off with something light and easy in the form of an icebreaker or hot take. Then you went over to some of the serious stuff, which was around your knowledge check, around your training content. In between, you gave a pause, you added some knowledge checkpoint to make sure that your audience is with you, they're connected. And then you move on to the next module, and right at the end of the training, that's where you want to start the Q&A that came in. So in the channel, you can see that the Q&A has been set up. Again, the best part of this Q&A, you can see that we had set it up in advance. So you can add questions, that the questions can keep coming in. Again, it is about getting the audience buy-in before they even join the session. So instead of at the end you're saying, hey, anybody has any questions, which is great, live questions can also come in, but this helps you, if you have questions in advance, this helps you also structure your content to make sure that the important points have been addressed. Again, it gives you the real-time feedback as well, and there's a fun little presentation and slides view as well to it. So we had set up a Q&A as part of this module as well. So I'm just going to quickly go into my Slack web app and talk more about it. So you can create it from here in the Q&A creation section. The way that this was set up, it was ask us anything. You can add a title, message, make it as detailed as possible. It's always good to give that added context. You can send it out in a Slack channel. You can also have a web link for it as well. So the submissions can come in from within Slack or from the web as well, wherever your audience feels more comfortable. It's about giving as many avenues as possible so that you're meeting your audience wherever they're more comfortable, whether that's the web, whether that's in Slack. Then selecting the channel in which you want to send out the Q&A in. Moderation, very important aspect of it. You get to decide, the questions come to you. So if you want to filter out the questions which are less relevant or more relevant, then there's the upvoting feature, which is a great way to prioritize the questions. Let's say you have 10 questions coming in, you only have time to take 3 of them. Then upvoting is telling you that these are the questions that your audience would like to more of, most of the audience. Anonymity, whether you want to keep the anonymous setting enabled or not enabled, that's up to you as well. So this was some of the settings that we kind of played around with while we were setting up this Q&A that you can see in your Slack channel as well. And I'm going to open this up. And oh, wow, we have quite a few questions in here. But of course, you see that none of these questions are visible in here in the Slack channel, because these questions are here with the moderators. And now as a moderator, I have to decide that, hey, what action needs to be taken for each of them. So does my audience also have to be in Slack for me to move these tools? Great question. I'm going to make this one public. My team isn't too responsive. What I can do to make them respond? Yeah, very relevant. I think this is something that we keep hearing from our customers that, hey, we're setting out survey. This is a great way to get, because we don't have to leave Slack. But I'm a bit worried about the response rate. What can we do to increase the response rate? Let's talk more about this. I'm on the Poly team plan. How do I get access to Q&A? Oh, okay. This is a serious user. Let's talk more about this. And another feature that we have as part of this Q&A is, let's say this is a very important question, but you feel that maybe this is less relevant, or maybe to, okay, can I send a private reply? Okay, yes, you can. And I'm going to reply to this one privately. Yes, you can, just like you have received this one. So if there's a question that I would rather reply privately to, because I feel that this is slightly off topic or less relevant to the content structure right now, or I feel that this is something that I want to kind of circle back to the respondent on, I can always send in a private reply, because as the author of the as a facilitator of the session, every voice matters to me. I want to make sure that everyone who took out their time to ask me a question, they should feel acknowledged and heard. And therefore, and while I might not be able to respond to their question publicly, it's important that a reply goes out to them, which recognizes their contribution. So I just sent them a private reply. And now let's head back into how things look like. So this is my Slack. As you can see, these are the questions that have been made public. And now they're visible to everyone. People can upvote them as well. Like I shared with you earlier, if I have less time, I can only take 3 questions. I'm just going to go in here, look at the questions that got the most upvotes. So I'm not, putting myself in the spot over here, because my participants are telling me that, hey, Abita, these are the important things that most of us would like to know more about. And maybe again, in a scenario where I'm unable to answer most of the questions, I can always send in a public reply as well. The feature is available on our business and enterprise plan. Happy to talk more about this. Please share your email over DM, and I can reply in here. And as you can see, the public reply that I've sent out, this reply is going to be visible for everyone as well. So maybe, if someone else also has a similar question, and we were unable to respond to this question, after the training, you can add the responses there as well. You can add more details. So if there's a link to a help talks that you need to share or something else, this is a great way to make that information public as well. And now I'm going to head over to the presentation view. So as part of my slide deck, I had embedded this Q&A. So my slide structure, it doesn't get broken. And I'm like, hey, we're in the last bit. And let's see the questions that have come up. These questions, once I've made them public, they're going to be visible in the presentation view. More questions can be added from here as well. You can scan the QR code and you can continue to add more questions. And as you can see, the default sorting is upwards. So the question with the most upwards is automatically going to move up. And while this question is being answered, so I'm going to expand it. And my team isn't too responsive. What can I do to make them respond? So two, three things that you can do over here. One is that you can send the survey out as a direct message. But like I said, just be very mindful of the culture of your company. But what we've seen from the data that we have is that sending out a survey via DM increases your responses threefold. So that's something definitely that can be explored. The second thing that you can do is that you can add a reminder as well. And because it works in a very automated way, so you don't have to go in and manually check. And if the poly goes out as a direct message, then the cool fact here is that the DM is also going to go out as a direct message, but only to those who haven't responded. So we're very, very respectful and mindful of the Slack space. We've been building on the platform for more than 5 years, and that's the superpower that Poly has, that we're very familiar with the Slack ecosystem on how customers, expect to interact and collaborate within Slack. So reminder will only go out to those who haven't responded in the DM. And then you can also generate a web link, because not all teams are super active in Slack, or so you can share that link over email with the people who are more responsive on email. A fourth thing that I actually learned from a customer on how they're encouraging the response rate is that your poly is out, and then later as a reminder in the channel, you create your own post and you add a fun little GIF to it to get people's attention, and you add the link to your poly in it also. So that really helped other customers as well with whom I shared this tip of fun ways to get more eyeballs on your poly. So I'm going to mark this one as answered, and yeah.
We have a question in the chat. Can you have multiple people respond to the Q&A session? So collaborators?
Yes, great point. Thank you for highlighting it. Collaboration is a core to how things run in Slack. And like I said, we've been building on the platform, so we're very mindful of the need to collaborate. So yes, the short answer is yes. The long answer is, let me show you how that's done. So during my poly creation, I can add collaborators. So let me just show you how to do that. Q&A creation, sorry. So I will just type in test because I want to very quickly go through this. And as part of my advanced settings, in here, yeah, I can add more collaborators, and collaborators are those people who can respond to the questions and exactly the things that I did, moderate the questions, make them public, make changes to the Q&A and all those things. So yes, I can add multiple collaborators, similar to the way that I could add collaborators in my service as well. And then let's say, once your Q&A is live and later you want to add more collaborators, that's also totally possible. I can go in here and I can add collaborators from here. So it's always, you always have the option to add multiple collaborators from here as part of the, it's asking me to configure the web link. Yes. So yeah, you can add collaborators during the time you're creating the Q&A, and you can also add collaborators when your Q&A is live as well. Let's say in real time, you recognize that, hey, the co-host is going to be a different person, so you can add them as well as collaborators. Okay, jumping back into the report section now, of course, we do understand that it's very important to measure the engagement as well. So this report section gives you an overview of the number of questions that came in, the submission status, the upvotes, and of course, a word cloud, a visual way of looking at things is all the more relevant in a training space. All of this is exportable. So, if this needs to be shared as part of your overall, example, you are carrying out sessions around the new leadership behaviors. And then at the end, you're presenting it to the people leadership team that, hey, these are the key themes that stood out. Then, of course, word cloud helps you in kind of coming up with that data. So there is this, and yeah, I have too many screens open up right now. Yeah, one thing that you can also do is that from here, you can access, these are very, very helpful links. From here, you can jump into the presentation view, you can jump into the audience web view. This is from where the audience can submit their questions. So these are very helpful links which redirect you to whichever space you want to go in. Hitting back on slideshow, yes, we've answered this question. And as you can see, once this has been answered, it's going to automatically go into the answered state, highlighting the next question. So again, you get to stay within the same space. The way that you're engaging the team on the questions that came in is very visual, very two-way. So the team feels engaged and interacted with as part of the whole session. And then jumping into the next section, which is around, you've concluded the Q&A, and now you're at the very end of your workshop where you're calling out, what are the next things that are lined up. And this is where the post-event engagement bit comes in. You feel very energized, you feel great, you feel that, yes, you're able to communicate the message that the audience wanted you to communicate. The participants were engaged, they were asking questions, participating in the polls. But of course, you do want structured feedback on your content, its relevance, and your style as a facilitator as well. A tip here would be sending out an event feedback survey or poly a few minutes before the session end. So you can get the responses while you have their attention. If you're connected with the audience in the channel, similar to the way that we are connected right now, you can send it out there as well. And of course, another tip here would be to ask the same question that you asked in your pre-event survey. So you can quantify the impact of your session. And of course, if it's a large audience, you can always add demographics to it. And let me very quickly hop back into my Poly web app in here and talk more about this post-event Poly. Again, I've saved it as a template in here to show you how this looks like. Similar to what we saw earlier, this is the question that you can see that I asked them earlier as well in terms of their familiarity with Poly. It gives me a very clear ROI on how my session went. And I'm going to hit send. Of course, I can generate a web link for it as well. Another feature that I also wanted to talk about was the demographics feature, because now, your event has concluded, you've sent out the Poly, but, let's say you're carrying out the session for a large audience, like 50 or a lot more people. And, example, 50% of the people felt they were engaged or you did a good job, might kind of raise that question that, what about the remaining 50%? Who were these people? What is it that I was not able to connect with them on? So demographics is a great way to give you a sliced and diced view of your responses. You can upload them from here. It's a simple CSV click. Wherever your employee information exists right now, you can add that in a CSV format. Instantly, it gets uploaded. And what it does is that all your historical Polys, which had the anonymity setting of non-anonymous or confidential, it's going to get mapped next to it immediately. So this was my old Poly. And as part of filter, I do see this demographics option, which means that these are the 3 attributes that I have added. So if I select one of the attribute, it's going to filter out the responses by that particular attribute. So really making my data more converting my data into insights is what it helps you with. And if you've linked it up with a Google Sheet or a CSV export, the demographics information is going to flow out there as well. So if you want to convert it into your own customized charts, or there's already information that you want to layer on, then that's a great way to have this information out of the Poly system. And then coming to the other bit where it's about, your workshop has concluded, you have the results on how the workshop went, but with learning, it's always about, okay, it was great. How do I keep my audience engaged even beyond the session? So a great way to do that is you can have a cohort check-in that can be in the form of knowledge checks, similar to what we did in here, or that can also be in the form of Poly stand-ups as well. So the great thing about Poly stand-ups is that they run in a thread. So you can have a stand-up which can be around, it can be once a month or even once a quarter. And it can talk about, how they're going about their learnings in terms of implementing them. So here's a stand-up template that I've set up. I can select one from the existing template library, or I can create my own one, which is very, very customized to a training. And of course, I can share this template with other facilitators as well, so that my team members who are running similar sessions, they don't need to build them from scratch. Rather, they can use the same template, saving them work as well. And again, these emojis with the choices help you in getting the attention and with the response rate as well. You can set up a suggestion box as well. It can be set up from the Q&A bit, very similar to that. Lots of controls here to customize it. So participants can share ideas for training or broader objectives. Like, let's say the training was about the new behaviors, or as part of the new leadership program that has been rolled out. So what are the other ideas and suggestions that the new behaviors can be embedded in the company? And last bit, before I hand it over to Barbara, is the workflows bit. What you can also do is that you can create, as part of your new hire journey, let's say this is around your new behaviors. And you want to make sure that all the new hires, they are also enrolled in these workshops as part of their onboarding journey. So you can always set up a workflow which then enrolls them in the new hire check-ins. Like for instance, example, a poly can go out on the 7th day, then on the 30th day, then on the 90th day, that, hey, how are they feeling? Have they completed? Have they attended a cultural training? If the response to that is no, you know that, hey, they need to be enrolled in some training. Have they completed the security checks and all the important functional trainings that are important? So workflow really helps you in automate the interaction. And of course, for workflows, you can always compare that, hey, this is the results for the feedback from the new hires versus feedback from the existing hires on the workshop. So if you want to do like a comparison, that can also be done. So yeah, tons of things that you can do, and very importantly, slice and dice the information as well, based on whatever is relevant for you in your cultural context at that point in time. With that, I'll hand it over to Barbara. But before I do that, sorry. So yes, I would say two tips that I would share with you around engaging while you're setting things up is make sure that you decide the platform that you want to use for your audience engagement. Whether that's going to be through QR code, Zoom, web, Slack. So you can have like the pre-work aligned on it for it already. So preparation, the second point where it says preparation always pays off. So yes, that's part of the preparation in addition to the pre-event survey. And then throughout the playbook, we've constantly emphasized around collaboration being the key to success. Pre-event collaboration to make your session relevant and interactive. And of course, very important post-event collaboration on the results so you can analyze the data and make it more meaningful for you to further action upon.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Abida. And very important points. I think you can see that Abida was very prepared to host her training session today and had a lot of really great and quality moments for engagement with Polly ready to go. And so I do take that away as my biggest takeaway from this session that I've worked on with her is preparation pays off. Following a playbook makes a ton of sense. And I think where Polly meets you where you are as the folks running these programs, being the hosts, being the moderators, is we allow you to templatize and to standardize and to make these systems and processes simple, efficient, and scalable. Because ultimately, you all need to be able to kind of set some things and forget about them and really focus on engaging with your attendees and the core content of your programs, while the systems that you put in place with Polly and Slack and otherwise just execute really well for you behind the scenes without any, undue challenges to deliver both high quality content and high quality engagement moments. The other bit there is, what we really pride ourselves on in anything we do here at Poly is measuring ourselves, measuring our outcomes, and the reporting capabilities that you get. And that really great tip that Abida gave around, layering in a pre-event question that helps you gauge the success of your individual training session that you then layer into your post-event survey as well, helps you measure each and every one of your training sessions to continually improve those over time. And I think that, when we look at kind of the end of a year of how we've evaluated what we've done in any programs that we run, that type of information is really, really impactful to kind of set the strategies for the coming years or, quarters to come when you're thinking about how you continually improve the design of your L&D programs. So with that, that's the highlights. Abida, if you don't mind clicking over to the next slide, we want to leave you with that. Your Poly team is here for you anytime. Myself, Abida, Bilal, our co-founder and CEO, he actually popped in for a minute there, but had to pop out. We love to help folks craft solutions to interesting use cases and help you find ways of working that just make work more fun and more effective. So all of our contact information is here. You'll get access to that after the session as well, but feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, social channels, and we will be reaching out after this with the recording of the session, as well as that post-event survey on how we did today in meeting your expectations and helping you learn a little bit from us here at Poly.